Hi, Mike.
Hey, Vandy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How's it
Cool.
going?
Good. I'm looking for my headphones. I don't know what I did with them.
Oh,
Oh, well, I guess I'll go headphoneless today.
oh,
It's all right. They're around here somewhere.
no worries. Alrighty. So, okay. So as we're diving in today, what would you say is maybe your main goal for today?
Well, I did a few scripts. I haven't really been that active since last time we met. Hold on. Can you see me? Is my
Nope,
little
not yet.
no?
But
Okay.
I
Oh,
hear you perfectly.
that's good. You can hear me. Uh, okay. Camera should be coming on. Maybe.
There we
Yeah,
go. Perfect. Well, that worked.
that worked.
Great.
I have
Excellent. All right.
So
So,
I'd done about three scripts. So that's basically it. I haven't done a whole lot since we last met, but I mean, trying to get back into the swing of it. Haven't been very successful as of late, but
oh,
it happens.
yeah.
I'm just trying to find the motivation. I don't know. It's like I found other, I don't know if you'd call interests, but
Sure,
like
yeah. You got
other things.
sidetracked, had other things going
Um,
on. It happens.
yes. So do you want me to send over these MP3s so you can give them a listen?
Yeah,
They
I
were
would love that. And then I can take a listen to what you've been working on and give a little bit of feedback on those.
okay.
Yeah, I
Open
think you
chat.
can just submit them through the chat there. Yeah.
I actually only have two, but I'm working. I was working on a
Yeah.
third before you called.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
so they're from those that script you'd sent over or that PDF,
Yes.
so you can follow along, I guess, with my dialogue.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just kind of started at the top, went with what I thought I might
Cool.
sound decent.
Great. So they just came through. I'll go ahead and take a listen to
They both
those.
have maybe multiple recordings on them, multiple takes. So
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so one thing I'd say about the American Century, I feel like you kind of warmed up into it. It got better and better as you went. And I would say that last chunk, I was like, ooh, that was really nice. There were just two moments that felt almost like just like a hesitation. I'm gonna find them. active approach from our, and there's like a hesitation active approach. So I would try to make that flow like from our active approach, like that it just keeps going because it's still one connected thought. And then I think there's one more that we will always be striving was another spot. So I think you possibly could just edit it because it feels like a hesitation before you go in that you will always be striving. It's like a pause, like you will always be striving. So those two spots, I'd probably try to tighten up a little bit more so they flow like you will always be striving, right? That it just keeps going at the same pacing, but it's like a moment that it feels like a hesitation, and it's probably just you thinking about like the next thing you're going to say or like taking a breath. But I would just kind of polish those two little moments so they feel a little more like it keeps going with the thought. um like I was saying before though, I really like more towards the end, like from, yeah, it's like the last half of it is really really nice.
Okay.
Like I really
So it's
like my favorite section's probably like the last, if you start at like 30 seconds, so it's like the last 14 seconds. Um like the what we don't do section is where it starts. I feel like from there to the end is super super solid. So it feels to me like you warmed up into it a little bit, like where you get more and more comfortable as you go.
okay.
It just sounds so much more confident there for that last chunk. To me, like it sounds a lot more confident, but also like more at ease at the same time, which I really like. And I really do appreciate that you try to make it very personable. It feels very much like you are talking to people and welcoming them and saying like, "Hey, we care about you here. It's not just about money, but like we genuinely care about the people that come in here. We want to help you." And we make sure to not do these things which are annoying or unethical or like, things that we know you don't want. And then making sure that we do these other things that are, good things. So I really like that. I enjoy that component
That's
of
kind
it.
of the tone I've been just that
Yeah.
kind of not lilting, but like the
Right.
intensity, my concentration cannot be overstated. Just the whole kind of upper end instead of using my low end.
Yeah. Yeah, just to exercise that muscle a little bit differently, to get a different tone. It feels like welcoming and like softer. Um Maybe more like understanding, compassionate. I feel like there could be other times when you use that. Um, so yeah, I think playing with that different tone is coming across really nicely. I'm going to take a listen to the Amex one.
But
Okay, yeah. So for this one, yeah, I definitely can hear that you're trying to do that same kind of tone there. For this one, I probably would recommend having a little bit more like strong presence with the voice, making it feel a little more anchored and like a little bit more authoritative, just because I think it's like people are going to be looking to you to protect their purchases and protect their identity and protect the things they value. So, like, reassuring them that you've got their back and that it's like, hey, are you stressed and worried about these things? Well, we've got you. Like, this is why you use American Express, you know? Um, so I think like just from a direction perspective, I would probably recommend that. But I definitely hear that you're trying to do, you're
the
trying
same.
to get that tone. So that's what you're exercising right now. I do like that you've got where it really genuinely sounds like you're asking the question. So that I think is coming across really nicely. And then I also like that it sounds like you're like you are concerned about this. You do care about them. And it's like, hey, I'm being really understanding. So that is coming across. Um, but I kind of see it as like I feel like at the end it works really nicely. The like, or are you a card member here? It's like, or are you a card member? American Express. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like at that point, having that tone that you've got works really, really nicely. But I kind of see it as like they look to you kind of like they would look to an attorney to fight for them or look to, let's say, like an advocate. They're like dealing with health issues and they need a like health advocate to fight for them to be able to get the care that they need. Like maybe their insurance doesn't want to pay for it or something. Or they're looking to someone who's like, you know, I don't know, you received a threat and you have a bodyguard now, like someone that you're looking to protect you. So, having some of that
More
in there as
authoritative.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also feel like you'll have like this or this, this or this. And so I feel like having a little more contrast between, so like this or this or
Okay.
this or this, right? So like I would make it sound like this is the negative thing. We don't like it. And then it's like, this is the good thing. We want those alerts when it's like some random person has gone on a shopping spree with your credit
All in
card,
the same script, or you're saying do script separately, one with this, one with, you know what I'm saying? Is it
No, all in the same script because the lines are like, is it this or is it this? Is it
okay?
this or is it this? Like the second half kind of shifts to that.
Okay.
Um, so it's like, do you have this happen or do you have this happen? And making it sound more clear as to like, we don't like this, we do like this. This is the positive. This is the one that we want. We want to be alerted if some random person has gone on a shopping spree with our credit card, right?
So
So,
basically, go light on the, or are you secure that your purchases are protected? That
exactly.
starting there,
Yeah.
everything else is kind of the
Like, are
low
you
end.
concerned about this?
Are you
Or do you
afraid it might be?
know? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I saw those
exactly.
kind of like
Are you
trigger
afraid
words:
of this?
afraid,
Like, oh
alerted.
man, that's not good.
Are you in
Exactly.
pieces?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Or do you have this assurance that da 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 da
magic
da,
wand.
right? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.
So I
I
want
see
a
what you're
little
saying.
more contrast there. And I want it to sound like we don't like this. We do like this. We don't like this. We do like this.
Okay.
Do you feel secure about this? Um, are you worried, or are you
Right.
enjoying your life? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
at the end, like when you've got the like when you're like, or are you a card member? American Express. Like make that sound really like confident and like we love this. That can sound a
That's
little
kind
more
of like the
like
tagline, right? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So thinking about those types of things. There was also one spot where I heard the little like hesitation moment. I think it might be like an editing together. But when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. I did
editing
an edit.
together, be sure that like you edit it together where you naturally would take a breath in the phrasing, not like in an awkward moment. Like if
Yeah.
you
Well, I
breathe
knew I
in
was
the
just
middle
sending
of a
this to you,
phrase,
so I was just kind of quick editing, just like
Yeah, no,
gap,
absolutely.
gap,
Yeah.
delete, gap, delete.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not quite lining up in a way that it feels totally like a natural flow at this point, I think. So I would love for you to try, just a little bit different approach there.
Cool.
So cool. All right, so those would be my comments there. Any other thoughts that you have here?
No, no. I mean, I
Cool.
understand asking, what you're asking.
Okay, perfect. All right. So then let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and try then. Do you want to try some different scripts then? Or are you wanting to
Well, I
find some
was
things to
working on
audition for?
the one I was working on when you called was Arnold Bread,
Oh, yeah, let's do
which I don't
that
know if
one.
looking at the
Okay,
PDF.
yeah.
It's page
Mm-hmm.
7.
Cool. Great. Perfect.
Uh, Let me open up my Audacity. See, I guess yeah. I'll just do a live read for you. I guess maybe.
Okay, perfect.
I have some of this recorded, but it's yeah. So I'll just do a live read. Let me tell you about the Arnold Bread Man. Lots of years ago, when I was just a little kid, he'd make deliveries to our house every day, just like the milkman and the iceman. I remember to this day those special tiny loaves he carried, and the big smile on his face when he gave me one. Now I know the Arnold Bread Man doesn't deliver any. Now I know the Arnold Bread Man doesn't deliver anymore, but every day I can still see a variety of Arnold breads on the grocer's shelves. So I still know he, so I know he's still around. So yeah, more of
Nice.
that kind of homey type,
Yeah,
not so
absolutely.
low.
Yeah. Okay. So then, yeah, I like this one feeling like you said, like very homey. Um, do you have maybe like a character inspiration in mind, something that you're like you feel like this particular person would do a really good job at this, like, you know,
Well, I
Danny
see like
Glover or
a
something.
Norman Rockwell type painting, just
Norman
that.
Rockwell type painting. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
kind of energy and so maybe like a what was it? Uh and that's the rest of the story. Was that Phil
Oh,
Harvey
Paul
or
Harvey.
Paul Harvey? Sorry, I was like, what is his first name? Yeah, Paul Harvey. Um, I don't know, like a hymn kind of vibe, or what do you think?
Yeah, he'd be perfect for something like this.
Yeah.
I can't do Paul Harvey though. And now the
Oh,
rest of the story. That's basically
yeah.
Paul Harvey.
But it's definitely that kind of like era, that kind
Oh
of
yeah.
emotion.
And I've thought of
Yeah.
tried using like a older man's, but I
Hmm.
that's something I just need to work on. It's been so long.
Sure.
Let me, yeah, I'd have to like actually picture an older person. Well, like you're
Okay.
saying a Paul Harvey or something, but
Yeah.
let me tell you about the Arnold Bread Man. Lots of years ago, when I was just a little kid, he'd make deliveries to our house every day, just like the milkman and the iceman. I remember to this day those special tiny loaves he carried, and the big smile on his face when he gave me one. Now, I know the Arnold Bread Man doesn't deliver any more, but every day I can still see a variety of Arnold's breads on the grocer's shelves. So I know he's still around. Something maybe like
Yeah,
ish.
exactly. Yeah, that it has just kind of a different energy to it. That worked really nicely, I thought. What do you think of it? Did you like it?
Yeah, yeah. It didn't feel obviously quite as so natural, but
But I think
they
that's
don't
okay
often do, I
too.
guess.
Sometimes when you're creating a different type of character or you're doing something that is very different from you, I think we have to have that, that we go,
Oh yeah.
"Oh, this isn't, it's not me, like it's not my norm." Like it would do you feel like you would just say this in like real life?
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
you're
then
asking.
it's
All
like,
right.
yeah, if you feel
Yeah.
like this isn't something you would just say,
Then it's a
in your
character.
everyday life, right? Then we change it, and that's okay, you know?
Okay. Yeah, and I was into character voices when I was, I like trying different things, different
Hmm.
dialects and whatnot, but it's just been so long. So, I
Yeah,
mean, but I think yeah, I mean, it's still in me, obviously, but it's just not
sure.
something that worked. That's why I started slow and easy, like with a happier type uplifting voice, because that seems more
Right.
natural, but at the same time, it's not who I am per se.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, but I think so. I'm trying to think of something I could use my natural. Let me try this just in my natural voice. I know it
Okay.
probably doesn't fit the script, but
It's okay.
let me tell you about the Arnold's Bread Man. Lots of years ago, when I was just a little kid, he'd make deliveries to our house every day, just like the milkman and the iceman. I remember to this day those special tiny loaves he carried, and the big smile on his face when he gave me one. Now I know the Arnold bread man doesn't deliver anymore, but every day I can still see a variety of Arnold's breads on the grocery shelves. So I know he's still around.
Nice. Yeah, good. Awesome. What'd you think of
That,
that?
that was more natural to my just normal everyday talking, I guess.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I try to look at the ups and the downs, like let it lilt a little bit.
Right. Hmm.
What'd you think?
Nice. Yeah, I
Was it?
agree. You get more of that. Um, yeah, you get more of that kind of energy while still maintaining kind of your authenticity at the same time. So, one thing that I find helps is if I kind of imagine the person and I'm like, okay, if I just like stepped into Paul Harvey's body, right? So it's like I'm him, but I'm still me. And so then it's like what I would do and say and how I would inflect and things because I am him, like you're literally stepping into his shoes then. And it's like I am him. And so it's like, how would I speak if I was in that person's body?
Is that method acting? Is that but
I mean, I
method
guess you
acting is
could
like
say
when you
so.
really okay. I'm just
Yeah,
curious. I
because
know
like in
you're an actor,
Meisner
so
technique, they do that. Um, so yeah, um, but I don't know that they necessarily like, I think you could consider that method acting. Yeah, that it's like thinking of you instinctively, like what your instincts would tell you to do, but while putting it through like a filter or a lens of that person. So, like, if I was in their body using their voice, how would I end up saying it? So it's kind of like using your imagination. So yeah, you could take
all right.
that as a
Well,
a
there's two
method
types of
acting
acting, right?
exercise.
Method and what's the other one?
So a method is just like a type of acting technique that's like developed by a certain teacher. Usually, when we talk about method acting, though, it's going to be referring to anything that comes from Stanislavski down. So, like him and his students and their students. Um, so it's like an ideology kind of in the approach. And I like to look at it as an inside out or outside in approach. So like method acting is more of inside out, like I feel it, therefore I do it. Whereas if you look at more like traditional acting methodologies, starting back with like the Greeks and you look at more European types of acting, it's going to be more of that outside in where I do it. And because I do it, I then feel it. So it's just
Okay.
approaching differently, but it's all to get the end goal the same is the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the traditional maybe
Hmm.
motive. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do it so it happens, or I am, I
Hmm.
guess, or whatever, as opposed to
Yeah.
trying because you're trying to become as a method actor, right? You're trying to become that person
Right.
almost.
Hmm. Which I
And
think having kind of like boundaries and limits with that is a healthy approach because I personally don't think that like trying to become someone else all the time is really necessarily the
healthy,
healthiest approach always.
right?
So, I usually recommend approaching it a little differently or like don't go all the way in because I don't want people to feel like they're, you know,
Well, it's funny
negatively
because I just
affected
watched that
psychologically.
Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was on the Joe Rogan Experience,
Okay, yeah.
and he talked about Jim Caviezel when he played Jesus and was that
Yeah.
Passion or the was that
The
Passion? No,
Passion
that
of the
was
Christ, yeah.
was that the one? And Jim
Yeah.
Caviezel actually thought he became Jesus essentially. I mean, he
Hmm.
stayed in role that whole and yeah, freaked
Hmm.
everybody out a little bit. I guess he became really religious afterwards and after he made the movie.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, I mean, he
Huh.
really got into it. So,
Wow, that's
uh,
interesting.
yeah. But
Huh.
yeah, he brought up method acting, and so I thought that was kind of his thing, where you become that person just so completely. Like I read
Yeah.
something about you Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Were you familiar with that? Jeff Spicoli and Sean Penn and all that.
I've heard about it. I haven't actually watched it myself.
Because it's like when they come on set or whatever, the actor asks to be called the character's name all day, or even offset or out
Oh,
of.
yeah, that they just become that character. Yeah. I think being able to kind of like put yourself into that character's being, but then like turn it off is also important. Um,
Okay, I do
because
too.
yeah, so that's kind of my opinion. I mean, I'm not against method acting. I've done a little bit, I mean, I've done a lot of both training. So training types. I've done more method acting training types, but I also feel like just like I just think that from an emotional and psychological perspective, it's good to kind of have emotional boundaries as well, even if you do use method acting.
Did you act in high school? Did you act in
I
your high
did.
school?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Yep. So, yeah. So I would say I did really like what you did with the Paul Harvey approach. Um, but then I think like trying different character inspirations like that can give you insights. Or you can even ask yourself, like, what would Paul Harvey do? And one of the things that I noticed was like you slowed down a little bit. So that's a concrete thing that you
Yeah,
can do. And it gives it this more like relaxed feel, like, and when people talk about like, oh, the good old days, like life was slower and we'd sit on the porch and watch the sunset, that kind of energy. So that was one thing I noticed. I also noticed the inflection changed quite a bit as well. Like I felt like you kind of like tapered off at the end and kind of like would da 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 da, and it would kind of like come down at the end of phrases. So having those concrete things to do, I think are really helpful to you and make you feel a little more comfortable knowing what those are. So I recommend doing things like ask yourself, what does someone who's angry sound like? What do they do? Maybe they stomp their feet. They kind of like get punchy with their consonants. They accent more. Um, maybe someone who gets like panicked, they speed up and maybe their voice goes a little more shrill, right? Like thinking of like concrete things that help you know what to do in that situation. So if you're
or not to
trying
do. I'm thinking of what
or
not to
what
do.
not
So,
to do. Yeah, that would work too. So if you were gonna kind of tell yourself for this script, what do you feel like are things you would want to not do? And then what are some things you would want to be sure to do?
so yeah, I definitely agree with like this Arnold bread would serve
Hmm.
an older, slower voice would serve it
Hmm.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
something
a
I.
slower, making the voice sound more mature. What do you feel like are some things more mature voices have? I feel like a little bit of a deeper like a warmer, richer, deeper, lower kind of pitch gives it a maturity sound, a little bit slower, like you're not in a hurry, you've got all the time in the world, um, more like confident in yourself. So those
I'm
kind of
also
things.
craggedy and like
A
gritty
little
almost.
craggedy. Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
that's
voice is
what
kind
I'd
of
have to work
sits down it like the vocal fry. Yeah,
as vocal
incorporating
fry.
some of that. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's try it again. Just thinking of
But
those things
I
you want
don't
to
know if
do.
my voice can do that right at the moment.
Okay, well, let's slide down and see if we can get to that space. So,
Let me tell you about
ah,
the Arnold bread man.
yeah.
Now I'm so like Bill Clinton. Let me tell you about the Arnold bread man. Lots of years ago, when I was just a little kid, he'd make deliveries to our house every day, just like the milkman and the iceman. I remember to this day those tiny special loaves he carried and the big smile on his face when he gave me one. Now I know the Arnold bread man doesn't deliver anymore, but every day I can still see a variety of Arnold's breads on the grocer's shelves, so I know he's still around.
Nice.
Was it
Very
really?
good.
I wish I'd
Yeah.
recorded
That
some of
was
these.
very different. That was very contrasting. Really nice.
Cool.
Nice. What did you
But
think of it?
that was my. I mean, it was fun. It was kind of
I
fun.
thought
Yeah.
it was too. Yeah. And so a lot of the time I'm not totally sure what people are looking for. And so if it's a short audition script, I'll sometimes send them, maybe like three different options and I'll have a totally different voice and a totally different approach, right? So if you
Yeah.
did just like a short segment, you could record it, in your regular voice, um, the way you did it with Paul Harvey and then the way you just did it now. And then you have some contrast, and then they can say, we like this one best, and then when you do the project, you do it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of torn. I mean, I see what you're saying, but like when you're
Mhm.
submitting something,
Yeah.
shouldn't you want to get one that you're like really happy with, right? And just send that to them
Sure.
or
But I would also say for the audition, though, that this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. The audition is your chance to show them kind of who you are, a little bit of your personality. I don't necessarily know that, it has to be absolutely perfect or performance ready. I think of it more as this is a chance for you to play with the script and show them some of what you might do with it. Um,
okay.
and so for them to kind of hear your sound and how you might approach it. So I don't think of it as having to be perfect by any means. It's not performance ready yet. It's a sense of play and exploration at that point, and then they're going to give you more direction as well once you get the job. I also know that if you're too perfected and like too cookie cutter, they're going to pass you by. Um, a casting director one time I was talking to, and they said, as like a description, a story to kind of make their point. They said, okay, like recently I had an audition and I had three auditions in a row where these ladies were so polished, so professional, so prepared, had clearly done their homework. They hit all the right beats. And she was like, I mean, they all were just like excellent, clearly well trained. And then she had an audition from someone who she was like, they clearly had no idea what the script was about or like who this character was. They clearly were unpolished. They like didn't really know what they were doing, but they brought a totally different energy, their own unique personality to it. Um, and just like, gave it their all. And they were like, well, oddly, ironically, they were like, that's the person I submitted to the director instead of these other people who had been like perfect. They were like, they were so cookie cutter and like the same. And I sent the person that was unique and different and brought their own spin and character to the character. And that's the person they passed on. So the point was like, yeah, like going to classes, learning, preparing, all of that's good, but ultimately like you need to stand out in the audition. So it's not about being like, oh, I have to be perfect or do like exactly what I think they want to see. It's more about you being creative and putting your own spin on it and doing something that'll make you stand out. And I feel like you can see that even with like musicians. If you think of somebody like Sabrina Carpenter, I mean, she put out what, like six albums before anyone knew that she even was doing music. And now she's kind of blown up, but also she like kind of turned herself into a character. She got a totally new look, totally new branding. And so it's like she did something that made her stand out, even though she'd already been doing music and had like 10
Well,
albums
didn't
or
Taylor
like
Swift kind of do
almost.
the same thing? Didn't Taylor
She
wasn't
kind of
Swift?
reinvented herself. Yeah, like she started more
Mhm.
country and then reinvented herself later on. Um, yeah, and like if you look at
Yeah,
somebody
just to your
like
point,
Lainey
I guess.
Wilson, she won like new country artist of the year, and it was like she had already been doing it for a decade. She had a handful of albums already out. She'd been living in Nashville for a decade. She'd been doing it for a decade, performing for a decade, making music for a decade, and she's new country artist of the year 10 years later. But it was like she became like the bell bottom country girl and like wears her big flare bell bottoms and like has like 70s, vibes mixed in with cowgirl, and like she made herself kind of iconic, right? And so if you think of that, like you need to stand out somehow. You need
Gotcha.
something that makes you have a brand kind of, or that makes you stand out from everyone else. So instead of going like, oh, I think like this is what they're asking for and I have to be perfectly that, finding ways to play with the script and bring something unique and like creative and interesting to it can be the thing that makes you stand out and gets you the job. So, playing into like things that make you unique, I think is an asset. Like a lot of the time people will be like, "Oh, I really wish I could do this better." But then I'm like, "Yeah, but you can do this other thing better than anybody else." So like maybe lean into that. Um
Well,
so
that's
even
why I
if
want
it's
your
like
advice, Andy. What do you think?
uncomfortable, yeah, like even if you're uncomfortable doing the one that you're like, oh, I sound like Bill Clinton or oh, the Paul Harvey or whatnot, even if it feels like you're kind of outside your comfort zone and, doing something weird or different, that could be the thing that gets you the job.
I
So
know.
yeah, so
Weird.
I feel like being brave and being creative and having that sense of play, try to approach it like if I was a kid doing this script and I was being really creative and adventurous, what would I do? Right?
Mhm.
Approaching it with that sense of play so that you break yourself out of that like little box that you're comfortable in and bring something different to the table.
Okay.
Yeah. I really
I'm
enjoyed
open to it. I'm open
um
for it.
I really did truly enjoy the other takes. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." And as a person doing casting, I might go like, "Oh, like I didn't think that's what I wanted, but now that I hear it, I think it's so cool and I love it." Um, that happens all the time in casting where they think they want this one thing and then they see somebody in the auditions who's totally different and then they end up giving them the job. I had a student not too long ago who so badly wanted to get this particular role and they narrowed it down to her and one other person and they were like, "Okay, here's what we want to hear." And she was like, I did exactly what they asked for. Exactly. And she was like, the other person did not at all do what they asked for, but they hired the other person. And she was upset. Like, she was pretty darn upset. She was like, I researched this. I, like listened to examples. I did everything they asked for
That was
exactly
the
the way
first
they
thing that
asked
came to
for
my
it.
mind earlier when you were talking about those other three girls. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were yeah, they were probably pretty upset.
Yeah, she was not happy because she was like, I don't get it. Like, what were they thinking? Um, and sometimes that's the thing. You shake it up a little bit and they go, I never would have thought of it that way, or I hadn't envisioned it that way. And then they're like, that was so cool. I loved it. And then it
Mhm.
totally changes their vision of the project. So I think
Or what
like
happens
being
though when they
directable is
look at you
great.
like that isn't anything, no, we asked you to do this a specific way.
Right.
Why? Yeah, I mean, it could backfire,
Yeah,
I guess.
so I always say like when someone gives you that direction, you need to change something. So for instance, if they said like, "Can you do it like more angry?" and you think I already was angry, then just change something. So instead of being angry then be deeply hurt in that moment. And they're going to take that as you being directable because you took the note and you changed something. So they're going to perceive that as you took the note. So my guess is that my student already was like doing that and then she just like did what she was already doing more and then they went, "Oh, she's not adaptable." Is my guess. Um and so if they give you a note like that, you just have to change something and you need to
Gotcha.
show them that yes, I'm adaptable. Yes, I can shake it up a little bit. So
That
my
is one
guess
of
is
my
that my
strengths, I
student
think,
like,
is the direction. Yeah, I think when you
yeah,
tell
I
me, I
agree.
try
I
to
think so too.
follow up. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think she practiced it so much and was like so perfected and so rigidly in what she had prepared that she probably was kind of inflexible at that point. And that's one of your strengths is being able to adapt and taking the notes. So I loved that, like, when we were talking, we were like, let's try this, let's try this. Every take was very different than the take before, which is awesome. So more of that, because that was really cool to hear. That was great. Um,
Okay.
so I
So
would
more of the
say
older type voice,
I
maybe.
like it. I think it plays across really beautifully. Um, so I would say maybe record both takes, the Paul Harvey and the Bill Clinton take. I liked the last one, I think, the best myself. It seemed like the most of that like elderly kind of voice to
Authentic.
me. I really liked what you did there. Um, but maybe record both and then we'll pick our favorite of the two recordings. They were very different from each other, but I really, really enjoyed it. And the great thing about voice acting is you're not limited by what you actually are. I can walk into an audition and they're like, we really want like a 5'2" blonde girl to do this who is, super like frail looking. And I walk in and they go, you can't play that.
You're the
But for
opposite.
voice acting, I can do literally anything. As long as I can portray that with my voice and create it, I can do it. It doesn't matter what color you are, what height you are, what weight you are, how old you are. What matters is what you can express, which is pretty neat. So it really opens up possibilities for you, which is super cool. So being brave and stretching yourself, I really think you're at the point where you can do that. And I also feel like when you stretch yourself and try to become these characters who are really different from you, I actually feel like you get less self-conscious and like more out of your head and less like trying to make it perfect and you try things more and are more creative with it. So I really like hearing that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
it's not
awesome.
until I can actually hear myself on the playback of, then, oh, okay, now I see what you mean or what you're talking about. Because in my mind, it's
Yeah.
like this has to could just come off sounding super silly, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to get a feel for maybe how other people hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're all that way. It's like, oh, that's me. When you hear a playback on something, your voice
Yeah.
sound like it does coming out of your mouth.
Right. Yeah. So I would say then, um, so go ahead and record that one this week because I think it's sounding really cool. And
Yeah.
then did you have any others you wanted us to look at that you already had picked
No,
out?
those were the only three.
The only three. Okay.
So
So
what would
then
you?
thinking about contrast then, Um, what kind of emotion do you feel like we're missing then? Or like what else could we showcase? Like variety wise, what kind of like I feel like if you reapproach um the one that I was like, can we do it more like we're protecting you with the
Yep,
Amex?
yep,
Like that one will have a different energy. Um,
yep.
we've got one, let's see, like
The first one was that
maybe
American Century was about the
like we'll take
I gave
care of you, like kind of a vibe, like comforting, welcoming.
just a
Um,
securities and investment type. I figure
mhm.
that's more of a sternish,
Yeah.
like you
So
said,
thinking of
lawyerly
like the
tone.
energy we're gonna want to have for each of these. And then this last one's more like at ease, comfortable, relaxed. Um, what about one that's like really excited and like pumped up, salesy kind of feel? Like
Oh
a come
boy.
one, come all,
Uh-huh.
Or like a get it now, folks, like you're selling
I
OxyClean or
think that was
something.
what because I always tried to do the announcery type thing, and
Ah, so you
that's
were
what
trying to
you
do
were
something
saying that
different. Yeah. So I
everybody
think one
said,
of
yeah.
those on the reel would be good to have though, just for the contrast. And then what if we did one that's kind of like, I don't know, like a tough guy or like I don't know, like a I ride motorcycles.
Well, I just stumbled across this one on page 11,
Yeah.
Cash 5 from Pennsylvania Lottery. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. We could do a lottery one.
Well, you were just talking about like a bad guy or something. And
Sure, yeah, like you're gambling or
you
like a
know it's going to
casino.
be a bad day when we wake up looking like the picture on our driver's license. Yeah, something like
I love
that.
that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
try it. Yeah, like that you're kind of like a rough and tumble or like a Wild West, kind of thing, or
yeah.
like a Harley Davidson or something, um or like cigars. I guess cigars could be more like sophisticated. kind of a vibe. You could do like a fun educational kind of energy, like bring your family to the children's museum kind of a thing. So just thinking contrast, I feel like is what we're going for here. We want more
Okay.
contrast
So five
for the
different
real.
like, and I think these are good scripts
Yeah,
to choose from. Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I'll
So
highlight
let's find a
these.
couple more that are just really contrasting. What about like a coach? It could be like a sports thing. I think could be another good one that would be contrasting.
Okay.
What do you think of
I'm just
that?
crossing some of these things off so I don't
Sure.
forget in
Yeah.
this PDF.
It could also be like a one could be so like one could be really encouraging, one could be like tough love, one could be protective, one could be stern, one could be like slapstick comedy. So just thinking of like as much contrast as we can get with the scripts is the idea here for the real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's five to start with.
Great. I love it. Okay. So, all right. So then let's go ahead and
Next
look
time
at one
we
of the other two that you found.
uh so it was that I'm looking at the index. So
Okay.
I did the American Century, the American Express, the Arnold Bread, and the Cash Five from Pennsylvania Lottery. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one,
Great.
two, three, four. One, two. Yep. So you want to find two more?
Yeah.
Okay. You said something coachy. What?
Yeah. Like a Nike or
Sportandhealth.com.
something. Sure. Absolutely.
See 68, page 68, whatever. Oh wow, this has all kinds of well, you have I didn't even see this part down here. You have Oil of Olay and Prego, like actual brand name stuff.
Yeah.
Uh 68, 68. If you're spending a little time in Sport and Health Club, you're you're little, you're spending a little time at Sport and Health Club and preparing the jaded by all the fun swimming, racquetball, tennis, and ho-hum basketball. 2,100 friendly fitness professionals will get you hooked on troop classes, strength training, cardio, and here's a big snoozer, belly dancing. Sport and Health Club, if you think you're the exercising type, think again. Yeah, I could do like a sporty type coachy voice.
Okay, sure. Let's try
These are
it.
all just things I'm going to do demo and then send them off to you later on
Absolutely. Yeah.
before we meet next time.
Sure.
Sorry, meeting time's almost up. Uh, and what
Yeah,
was
it's
another
amazing
one?
how time flies when you're having fun, like really focused. Yeah, so what kind of emotions do we have then? We've got like the coach, like challenging them. Amex, do we say we're gonna do more like protecting them? We've got you,
Yep.
got your
Protect.
back kind of a feel. For American Century, how would you describe like the energy or motion there?
Uh, Lawyerly, just
Okay.
straightforward. Uh,
More like corporate sound,
yes, exactly. Just
polished, yeah. And then what was the other one we said?
Arnold's bread or that bread.
Oh yeah, Arnold bread. Yeah, we just did it. Very like homey, heartwarming,
Yes.
maybe like nostalgic is a good word for that. Protective, lawyerly, corporate, homey, heartwarming. What about one that's like really upbeat and like fun? Like
Oh, okay. I remember. Yeah, you said something about.
like family fun nights or like, come to our pizza joint and bring the whole family. We've got the arcade. Um, or it could be like a, summer concert series, coming to you. Um,
You're already thinking about summer, aren't you?
I guess so. I feel like in the summer, like all the ads you hear are like fun things to do. Okay, what about winter? It could be like come to the slopes kind of a thing, like take a weekend
Looking for like
getaway, come to the slopes, you know.
a amusement park or something like that, you know?
Yeah, just something that's more like peppy, upbeat. It could be like
Happy. Okay. Uh,
I mean,
whoa.
I feel like it could be like a snack that smiles back, goldfish or something.
Oh, remember we worked on that Target red card? So that would be
Yeah.
kind of happy. Hey there.
Yeah.
You know the red card, right? The Target debit card and credit cards, the ones you saw with
Yeah.
the extra 5%. Yeah,
Sure.
just kind of
Peppy
upbeat.
upbeat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that one works great. So you've got a lot of variety then, right? So let's take a look at the coaching one, like you're challenging them, motivating them, that kind of energy.
So it's that sportandhealth.com.
Yeah. I mean, it is like New Year, resolutions right now. It's a perfect one for this season.
If you're spending a little time at the Sport and Health Club, then prepare to be jaded by all the fun swimming, racquetball, tennis, and ho hum basketball. 2,100 friendly fitness professionals who you'll get hooked on troop classes, strength training, cardio, and here's the big snoozer belly dancing. Sport and Health Club. If you think you're the exercising type, think again. Visit sportandhealth.com or call 1-800-88 clubs.
Yeah, it's like come here and you're gonna have fun and you're gonna get fit.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think
So
that
that kind
works
of
well for
like
that type of script. Yeah. Coaching,
motivational.
motivational.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so we just want as much contrast and variety as we can showcase here. Um, So I would probably look at how you can arrange these on the reel too. So you're going to get a really solid clip of each, individually. And then we're going to go through and go, what order do we want? So I usually put the first one usually more like upbeat, but more of like my normal voice. So which one do you feel like could fit that? Maybe
Upbeat.
like the American Century, maybe. Oh, or like the Target one. What about the Target red card?
Okay. That would be
I
my
think that
most
would be a
upbeat.
good first one. And then something contrasting. Which one do you feel like is contrasting to that one, but like one of your favorites?
Probably that Arnold bread,
Okay,
right? I
I
mean,
really like that one. I think it is beautifully done. All right, so then again, contrasting to Arnold Bread, what would be like your third favorite
oh, the
or second favorite?
American, or how about the Minnesota lottery? Or
Okay,
what was
Minnesota
it?
Lottery.
Pennsylvania lottery or
Oh,
whatever.
Pennsylvania
No,
Lottery,
but
yeah. So
yeah,
I'll just
you
say
said the biker
lottery.
type voice, or whatever, that type of deal.
Absolutely. And then what would be kind of contrasting to that?
And I would say the Amex and the
Okay,
American Century are probably just the most ho hum, but
sure.
try to make them
So
sound as
then maybe like
professional
the
as I can.
Amex and then the Coach, and then do the American Century last.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I'll try that.
Okay. And we can always look at this and see if we like that order and change it up. But for now, let's try to get each of those clips recorded individually. When you're done with those, go ahead and send them to me. And then we're going
Okay.
to put them in this order. We're going to pick our favorite, like 10-ish seconds of each one. And so you'll have the full clips saved. And then in the reel, you'll take your favorite about 10 seconds of each one, put that into the reel. I also want you to record your slate in. So that's going to be a greeting and your name just in your regular voice first. And then at the end, you're going to do a slate out as well, which is a thank you, like thanks for listening kind of thing, and your name again at the end. Those only take a couple seconds. So we're gonna get the full clips because you can put those on your profiles just as the full clips. You can use those for auditions as well if you feel like, oh, they're kind of going for this sound. Um, and then we'll also put together the reel additionally, and then we'll get those slates recorded. And then if you feel like you have the time for it, if you're up for it, you can also look for music that you feel like would fit the energy of each one that we can put in the
Okay.
background.
Okay.
Sound good?
Cool. Yeah, I think I already have some of
Awesome.
those websites, those sampling
Cool.
websites.
Perfect. Nice work. I feel like we got quite a lot done. This was good. So looking ahead, how's the, let's see, 23rd maybe look for you?
Is that a Sunday? Let me pull up my
Yeah,
calendar.
Sunday the 23rd.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that'll
I
work.
can do a 1:45. I can do a 5 o'clock. I can do a 7:45. Which works best for you?
Five's cool. Yeah, I
Okay.
think five works.
5 o'clock it is. Alrighty, so I will see you then on the 23rd. I'm
Awesome.
looking forward to hearing your scripts. Send me the
Me
recordings
too.
when you're done, and I'll give you some comments. It
All
was
right,
really nice
cool.
work.
We'll do.
And I
All
can
right.
also then
Thank you,
give you an
Dan.
idea of like the sections I like the best. That I'm like, I kind of like this part and this part the best, for the reel.
Absolutely.
I can give you some suggestions on the parts I feel like really shine the most and like
Cool.
stand out. Because sometimes it's not even just like what you feel like you did the best, but maybe what kind of shows something different, and it's like, ooh, that's kind of a cool,
Contrasting.
thing you did with your voice, like that we don't really see in any of the others. So sometimes that kind of insight too. So I'll let you know what I think about which sections to use too.
Cool.
Cool.
Sounds awesome.
Awesome work, Mike. I see you've got your
Thanks, Mandy.
soundproofing behind you, the blankets to
The
dampen the
blanket.
sound. Nice.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
Is that working well for you? It
Yeah, I'm
sounds
not
good
using
from
my
my
bot.
side.
I mean, I'll have to put my headphone. I have still, I'll have to
Yeah.
look for headphones to see
If
what
you
the
still feel
recordings,
like
the
you need
audio.
a little bit something more, look for something like the Chaotica eyeball. It's kind of expensive, but they have like knockoff versions too that are like the same thing. Like I have one that's like a metal shield behind, and then the front is just the like sheer screen, and it does and it's like sealed on top and bottom, and you put the mic like up through the bottom inside, and it's very directional. So it's like a knockoff version that was like, I don't know, like $60. And it works really, really well as like a shield. And so it's almost like you get the studio effect, but it's like the mic is in there, not like you and the mic. So
Right. Pretty
I think
cool.
they can work really well. So if you feel like you still need a little extra something, you can try that. And I find that those work really well too. So if you look up the Chaotica eyeball, you'll see what that is. And if you look, further digging, you'll find some like knockoff versions that some of them are every bit as good, I think. So
Okay. They all serve the same
yeah,
purpose.
exactly. Yeah. So like if you feel like you just need that next level of like isolation, it works really beautifully. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not very expensive.
But you sound good right now, just here to me. So I don't hear like,
Okay.
sound bouncing or anything. So I know I don't have like my like full on
You're
earphones
right.
on, but from what
Right.
I'm hearing right now, it sounds pretty good. So
Okay.
I think it's probably doing what it's supposed to do, doing good. So
Okay.
great. I look forward to it. I'll see you
Yeah,
in
me
about a
too,
month
Mandy.
and we'll be in touch. Bye,
Okay.
Mike.
Awesome. Thanks.